Hi, Jodie here. Just wanted to do a video today on e-safety for schools, because it's one of the hottest topics, if you like, all the time, because it's always going to be a worry, especially nowadays. You know, I can sound really old when I say it, but you know, there's issues that we didn't have to deal with when we were children. There's issues of children having their own phones really young, having access without any blocking to social media and things at home, being on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Musical.ly and all these different apps that have safe options but also have quite scary open to the world kind of options as well. And children tend to learn from friends that if they lie about their date of birth, then they'll get full access as opposed to younger access. So it's an important issue, but it's one that can cause a real stir, and it's one that can cause real worry for a school, and often worry leads to just block it down, lock it down, don't touch it at all, don't talk about it, don't use it. For teachers sometimes alike, don't go on Twitter, teachers, it's too terrifying, you'll lose your job because of it. All sorts of scaremongering that of course the mainstream media gets hold of any issue they can to talk about. But let's think about it more in a kind of a practical, real life sense. So however technologically advanced you are and how comfortable you are with it, it's not good enough to just say, oh, the kids know more about it than I do. Well, then you need to learn quickly, because you are the person that's still going to be their support, and there are ways that you can learn. You don't have to be on Twitter yourself, you don't have to use it, but there's certainly ways, there's guides, there's information out there to tell you about it and what things to look out for and how to support your students if they are using it, or if you're worried about anything that's happening from it. So the analogy I like to use is a playground. You know, if you imagine your school playground, especially if you're next to a road or something, you've likely got a wall or a fence around it. You know, it's if you're in the UK, you've definitely got some sort of fence or wall around your school, and probably a locked gate, and you don't allow access to anyone outside of certain hours without going through the office and so on. But the children can still see the road outside. They can see through the gate, they can see through the fence, they can see there's a road out there, there's cars whizzing by, but you're not just going to let them play there over lunchtime. But they have to walk to and from your school on that road, and that's the same sort of thing from in school for e-safety. So think about opportunities for walled garden type training grounds online. So there's lots of different ways that you can give students access on education focused social media type things, or learning platforms, or all these different things, which sometimes people can kind of go, oh no, we're not training them for the real world if we put them in a walled garden. But these same people have playgrounds with fences. It's exactly the same situation. You are training children for what they might do later on. So it's about making sure that they've got access that is safe for them for now. But all the while you're talking about what's outside that gate, what's the other side of that fence, what might they encounter when you're not there to lock it down and keep it safe for them. So when they go home at 3:30, what access might they have as soon as they step outside that gate? What might they be talking about? So you're still going to talk about it. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend it's not there and then get shocked when there's a big cyberbullying episode that it involves 50 different children because you've denied that Facebook exists in the meantime. So don't ignore what's outside that gate, but give them somewhere that is safer for them to start practicing, and teach them ways to use it for educational purposes, for curation purposes, and also for creation purposes, so they're not just consumers of content from other people that might be mindless. Use it for projects like doing their own history type tweets, and you can even look at kind of the Twitter accounts that follow certain things, like Samuel Pepys does a great one. There's a Samuel Pepys Twitter that follows the events of the Great Fire of London on the right date at the right point of the year. So things like that can tie in really well and can enable you to show that you know Twitter exists, you know it's there, you know it's useful, and look at the good side of it as well. But the other thing to do is bear in mind that what would you do in your playground if something happens? So if a child falls over, for example, you're going to pick them up, you're going to check they're okay, you're going to make sure everything's okay. Same thing, while they're in your walled garden, don't ignore what happens there. If something happens, deal with it, pick them up. If they got pushed over, who pushed them? Talk to that child who pushed them. Now if the child pushed them and did something bad, same as if they do something horrible online, obviously you might give them a punishment. You might, just like in the playground, you might say they're not allowed in the playground for playtime or playtime for the rest of the week, but you're not going to block them forever. So don't try blocking them out forever either, or saying, right, that's it, you can't do social media, you can't do a learning platform, you can't do any of the school stuff. Give them this same type of punishment you would do if they push someone over in the playground. So try and use those analogies all the time when you're trying to deal with e-safety. If anything bothers you, worries you, you're not sure, just think, If this was a playground incident, how would it play out? What would I do? How would I sanction this child? How would I support that child? And how would I train them to go back out there and integrate back into the playground safely again? And also not to cut out all of their friends. If you have what you consider to be a bully who's bullying people online, in the playground you would find ways to teach them how to interact nicely and to gain friends and not to be totally isolated. So do the same for their online behaviour. People are the same, whether they're typing online or in person. Yes, online they might get more anonymity, they might feel braver, but the repercussions are still the same in the real world. There's still legal repercussions if they go too far. So try and bring those real life, like this is what would happen if this was outside, but seeing as you're in the school training ground version, we're going to deal with it this way. And try and keep in mind that analogy every time it bothers you or worries you. Don't just go down a scaremonger route, block it, and think, how would you deal with this if this was real life? Hope that's helpful. Take care. Bye.